Good morning, everybody. This is Chris coming to you from my office here in Centerport, and today I'm going to teach you something very interesting about your body, and teach you about your body, and then also give you a very simple but very, very powerful, I can't stress that enough, very, very powerful self-healing technique that requires acupressure that everybody can do. But I do not consider this a beginner's or basic acupressure. This is because of the power behind it. I would consider it an advanced acupressure technique to use on yourself. So this is used for, I could say, almost anything, but specifically used for mental anguish, trauma healing, and moments where you just don't feel yourself. Your chemistry's off, your mind's off, something's off, your day's off, and things just don't feel right, to kind of bring back clarity. So let's just get right into it. It's an acupressure technique that we're going to use on our rib cage. So almost always, when we are going through life and experiencing something, we stop short in traffic. We have a conversation with somebody, good or bad. Our posture, our physical fitness or lack of. We are constantly, from what we do or what we don't do, we're affecting our breathing. Whether we know it or not, it all goes back to the breathing. And in the ancient teachings of yoga and Chinese medicine, the breath affects the mind. Now, this may seem like something subtle. It's not. It's not at all. Shallow breathing, the depth of the breathing, but then also the parameters around the breathing, the respiratory muscles. If you're experiencing some challenge or difficulty mentally or emotionally, there is something also physical happening. Vice versa, if something physical is happening to you, you have an injury, or you have pain, or your digestion is off, or sleep's not right, something mental is happening. You don't always notice one or the other. It may be under the radar. That's why in Chinese medicine we look at the tongue and read the pulses. But the chicken or the egg, both are happening at the same time. You just have to find it. And often when there's mental anguish, there's physical stuff happening in the body, even if you don't have any pain. But if a practitioner gets their hands on you, they can find things that will kind of light you up and then give you relief afterwards. So to relieve your mental anguish, if you want to work on past trauma, or just get clarity of mind, or just, you're not quite sure what to think about all this Eastern medicine, experiment, because if you try this technique that I'm going to give you here, you will feel something tremendous happen. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's simple, but it's very effective. So we're going to use acupressure, and a lot of it is exploration. So we have muscular tension in our body all over the place. So we're going to do this acupressure technique on our rib cage, which, who thinks about the ribs and the muscles between the ribs? Almost very, very few people. But when things happen, those muscular intercostal muscles between the ribs will tighten and tighten and tighten, and your breath will begin to change. So we're going to open that up. And this might be for many different levels for different people, but we're going to work on opening this up. So the acupressure technique is just using either your fingers or your thumb to get the work done. So what you're going to do is work along the collarbone first. Let's do that first. So reach over, opposite hand, and I think almost everybody can pick out their collarbone, this bone that sits right on top of the chest here. So go right under it. So you're on the border, you're skirting along the border under the collarbone. And just use your probably middle finger with support of the index finger, and you're just going to check. Just go across under the border in more of the muscular area under the border of the collarbone, and you're just going to push all the way out to the shoulder and then come back. And if things feel absolutely sensationless, it's probably okay there. That acupressure point is probably okay and healthy. But if you're pushing along and you feel a little tension or a little pain or a little like muscular knot sensation, you have a blockage there. Physical, mental, doesn't matter. You have a blockage there. So you're going to just skirt along underneath your collarbone, come to a blockage, come to a tender point, and you're going to push. Now the technique isn't very severe pressure. It's not very, very deep pressure. It's moderate. You want to be pushing enough. The acupressure is you just take your finger and you just push with steady pressure. And the pushing is more than mild, moderate. You want to feel that something is happening. You want to feel slightly uncomfortable, but obviously don't hurt yourself. So you'll find that tender point, and you'll push, and you'll close your eyes and take 5 deep breaths. Five times. So for me, a variety of sensation can happen. When you're pushing, feeling the sensation and breathing, it can bring up emotion. It can bring up thoughts. For me, when I push there, I feel it here. So there's something very major going on there. So anyway, you're going to push, feel it, be neutral to the experience that comes up. This is a meditative process as well. Acupressure, you're pushing, but it's also a meditative process. There's a blockage here. Something caused that blockage. It's like we're opening a door. You're opening the closet door. You have to clean the closet out. But you don't just open the closet door and just close your eyes and throw everything out, because you have clothes in there and you have tools in there that you don't want to throw out. There's an assimilation process that has to happen. And this assimilation process is actually the energy of your small intestine in Chinese medicine. In Chinese medicine, your small intestine is what separates the good food from the bad food, gets rid of it, and uses what's good. So there's a assimilation process. So when you are pushing a trigger point and it's releasing something for you, the emotion and everything else, you have to see it. You can't avoid it. And that's okay. That's normal. So just have a neutral mind, experience whatever comes up for you, but when you're done, it'll be relieved. So it's okay. So you'll push along the collarbone, find a tender point, sit on it, push with moderate pressure to make it slightly uncomfortable, close your eyes, and take 5 deep breaths. You'll obviously also do the other side. Now, even stronger and more deep, getting more into the digestive organs, and this was above the heart, along the collarbone, now below the heart. It's a little more intimate, deeper into the body. Some deeper stuff going on there. So you'll use your thumbs. You'll probably hold a loose fist, something like that. And any technique can be used, but this is just something that's quick, simple, and useful. But you'll just use your thumbs on the outside of a fist, and you use the thumbs to, you have these ribs that come across like this, and you have many of them. And it doesn't matter, this is exploration, so you're going to, between one bump and the other bump, one rib and the other rib, there's a valley, a groove in between your ribs. There's going to be a lot of sensation there, I promise you. We're all human, we have human experiences, and our body accumulates stuckness and trauma and stress. but this is really going to get it out on a very deep level for you. So in this groove between the ribs, and you could check different grooves. There's one lower, and even lower, and up, and up, and up, all below the heart here, all below your pectoral muscles. So you just pick a groove, and just push with your thumbs. You might want to do one side at a time, or you can do both sides. Push, and you might even feel like you feel a little digestive movement, or you feel a little shortness of breath, or you feel pain somewhere else, or it's just tender. Ooh, that's right there is a really tender spot. I went running this morning, so maybe that intercostal muscle got overused and is a little bit spasmodic and a little bit stressed. So that's going to affect my deep breathing for the rest of the day. So I'm working along the muscles here, and you get on a really particularly tender point, and you can come in front, but you can also come all the way out to the side here, and there's a lot of options. So you just explore, find a tender point. I have a tender point there. I sort of actually feel this, seems like my large intestine, seems like it's stimulating digestion or something. So you find a tender point, push, moderate pressure. You want to be slightly uncomfortable so your body knows, hey, we're doing something here. Close your eyes, 5 deep breaths. So 5 of those. And you hold with moderate pressure the whole time. And then when you're done with the last deep breath, you just release. So you can do this. I would recommend to find one tender point on each side, one tender point under the collarbone here, 5 deep breaths, one tender point under the collarbone here, 5 deep breaths. And then I wouldn't go through all your ribs and do all of them. I would just search around a little bit and find one tender point somewhere on the left side, one tender point somewhere on the right side. Press, hold, 5 deep breaths each time. You can do these bilaterally together or one at a time if that makes sense to you. And this is going to deeply affect your mind and your emotions, but also your physical body and your physical chemistry, because getting stagnation out of your lungs and your breathing muscles, it's going to release anxiety, it's going to release worry, it's going to be good for your heart muscle, it's going to also be very good above and below, as we've been, for your breast tissue and your lymphatic drainage. So also very good for your spine, because the ribs go around and attach to the spine, which is a very primal energy center for you. So if you start to release your ribs, your spine will relax, and you're going to start to relax. So there was a lot of, this video was just on the fly. There's a lot of information here. It's 13, 14, 15 minutes. So all kind of random, but all kind of needed to be put out there. You can sit with this practice. It could take you 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. That's not a lot of time. Everybody has time for that. And you can practice it once a week. You can practice it 2, 3 times a day. But the more you explore in your rib cage with the acupressure, press and hold, the more relief your body will feel and your mind will feel. So take it with great thought and great intention. Maybe before and after. Set a positive affirmation or a prayer for yourself. Any questions? Text me anytime. Call me if you need to. There's also email. I'll be here to answer your questions, and have a wonderful Monday.